Back in business. Clerks 3 comes out on Wednesday. I'm seeing it on Wednesday. So let's knock these last two reviews out, shall we? Clerks 2 was released in 2006, starring Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, Rosario Dawson, Trevor Fairman, Jason Mewes, and Kevin Smith. And like I said, Clerks 3 is coming out this week. I'm seeing it on Wednesday. I'm very excited. So let's go ahead and knock these last two reviews out, starting with Clerks 2. And starting off with the good, there's a lot that I really like in this movie. First of all, Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson are back as Dante and Randall, and they're just as funny as ever. I actually think they're a little funnier in this movie than they were in Clerks 1, and I still really love them in Clerks 1, but I don't know, it's just a little bit more laugh out loud with their humor in this film. And I just really like the way they work off each other, and there's actually a really emotional moment between the two near the end of the movie. I thought it was a very beautiful scene where they're in the jail cell and Randall's basically spilling all his feelings because he thinks Dante is going to be leaving him. I just thought that they had some great chemistry together in this movie. You really felt that they were best friends in this one. And then you have two new characters. First one I want to mention is Rosario Dawson as Becky. And she's kind of the love interest for Dante in this film. There's a whole subplot with Dante being engaged but not exactly being happy. So he falls for Becky, who is the manager at the fast food restaurant they're working at, because the convenience store burned down, so they now have to work at the fast food restaurant. And I really like their chemistry as well. I think they're pretty cute together as well. And the other new character is Trevor Fairman as Elias, this nerdy kid that Randall's picking on who works at the fast food establishment. And I really like all the interactions between Randall and Elias. I think it's just absolutely hilarious how Randall's always, prodding at him, trying to get him to explode. And the entire conversation that he has with Randall about which is better between Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, I think that's just absolutely hilarious as well. And as much as I love Lord of the Rings, Randall is not exactly lying when he describes Lord of the Rings in this movie. But either way, then of course you have Jay and Silent Bob returning, and Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith are just as funny as ever. Of course, it does carry over from their arc in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. They got off parole from being in California. Of course, we don't see what happens, but Jay does talk about it quite a bit, and it's funny, and I just really love the humor between them. They're back to just being the background characters, but they're still absolutely hilarious, and they're still featured way more in this than in the first Clerks movie. So, yeah, obviously I love Jay and Silent Bob. And the humor in this movie is far more laugh out loud in this than in the first Clerks. I love the first Clerks for its more subtle approach to humor. This one I also love for the more laugh out loud humor, how the humor has evolved throughout the View Askewniverse since the first Clerks. And I like the change of location. I feel like a whole movie in the convenience store again might not have been as good. Plus, I used to work in fast food a lot, and so this movie really speaks to me, just like how the first one spoke to me. I work in customer service now. This one also speaks to me because it's pretty much accurate to the day in the life of a fast food worker, and I just thought it was funny how accurate it was. The type of people you work with, the type of customers you deal with, the slackers who hang out outside or inside. It's just a lot of fun. Well, working there is not fun, but seeing it relate to your situation is fun. That's what's fun about it. But I also really like the story, and obviously I've already talked about the emotional scene between Randall and Dante. But the score and the soundtrack's also really good, as always in a View Askewniverse film. But that's about all for the good. Let's move on to the bad. And there's one thing in this movie that I'm just not a fan of. I know this scene is popular with fans of the View Askewniverse, but I'm just not a fan of the donkey show in the third act. If you know what I'm talking about, then you just know. I'm not going to describe it. I'm just not a fan of that entire scene. It could have been cut. Everything could have come to a head a different way, but it's whatever with that. That's about all for the bad. On to the final thoughts. I really love Clerks 2. It's not as good as the first one, but in some aspects, it is better. I just think the first one's better because of the more subtlety of it. Clerks 2 is still a very funny movie with great acting, great soundtrack, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on Clerks 2. Have you seen this movie? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.